The argument over the set list for the Founders Gala had left a bitter taste in my mouth, and back in my dorm room, I was still fuming. Mei Ling, the campus queen, and I had clashed just because she's gorgeous. She thinks she can do whatever she wants. I muttered to my empty room, "Mei Ling can go to hell." The air shimmered, and in the next second, she was standing right in front of me, stark naked for a split second. Mei Ling and I just stared at each other, the air in my dorm room turning to solid ice. My eyes were glued to, well, all of her. My brain very helpfully went completely offline. Mei Ling's face was the color of a ripe tomato. Her usually perfect blonde hair was damp and splayed across her shoulders. A few strands stuck to her cheeks, making her look surprisingly vulnerable. She crossed her arms over her chest, but the gesture did little to hide a body that was, for lack of a better word, spectacular. The only thing missing was her usual unshakable confidence. In its place was a cocktail of pure terror and rage. Thank God my roommate was still at the dining hall. I was the only one in the room, too pissed off to even think about dinner. Mei Ling's shriek shattered the silence. She lunged, and the sharp crack of her palm connecting with my cheek echoed in the small room. My head snapped to the side, a wildfire of pain spreading across my face. "You pervert," she screamed, her eyes darting around wildly for something to cover herself with. "Stop staring." The slap finally rebounded my system, ignoring the sting. I scrambled for my backpack, pulling out a clean t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants. "Here, put these on." She snatched them and bolted for the tiny and sweet bathroom. After a few moments of frantic rustling, she emerged, her face still flushed, her chest heaving with anger. She shot me a death glare and made a beeline for the door. "Wait," I called out, holding up a pair of sunglasses and a baseball cap from my desk. "If anyone sees you leaving my room like this, we're both screwed." She hesitated for a beat before taking them. "Thanks," she mumbled so quietly I almost missed it, then slipped out the door and was gone. Less than 30 minutes later, a post titled "Spotted, Campus Queen's Walk of Shame from a Guy's Dorm" hit the top of the Northwood Confessions Instagram page. The anonymous post detailed the exact time and building Mei Ling had been seen leaving, complete with a grainy photo of her back. The comment section exploded. My roommate came back to a dorm room that had become ground zero of a campuswide scandal, but all I could think about was how Mei Ling had just materialized out of thin air in my room, and the image that was now permanently burned into my brain. The next day, I was in line at the dining hall. Before I could even order, I heard a voice behind me. "Kenji Tanaka." I turned. The group of huge guys from a basketball team were storming toward me, their faces set in aggressive scowls. I'd heard stories about them, a bunch of jocks who liked to throw their weight around. It looked like I was their next project for dead lunch. I bolted. They split up, one group chasing me directly while the others fanned out to cut me off. "Hey, get back here," one of them yelled. "We need to talk. I've got nothing to say to you guys," I muttered, leading through the crowded tables. If I am talking to anyone, it should be to Dean about his useless jock squad. The words were barely out of my mouth when Dean Sato appeared directly behind me. The jock slammed on the brakes. The one closest to me, mid-lunge, couldn't stop. He crashed right into the dean, his hands flailing wildly in the chaos. His fingers snagged on the dean's pants, and with a sickening rip, they were pulled down to his ankles. They were really red, loud red boxers shimmering under the fluorescent lights of the cafeteria, stunning the entire room into silence. To his credit, Dean Sato was a seasoned pro in one fluid motion. He yanked up his pants, his face a thundercloud of authority and pure fury. "What are you all looking at? Eat your food," he boomed, his voice echoing off the wall. She then proceeded to verbally tear the basketball players a new one in front of everyone. Finally, he turned to me. "You, Ray Kenji Tanaka, you're Ray coming with me." The way he said it, I felt like I was being arrested. Mei Ling was already waiting outside the dean's office when she saw us. She fell in line behind me, and we all filed into the room together. She kept her head down, nervously twisting the hem of her shirt like a kid who'd been caught drying on the wall. "Sick," Dean Sato said, gesturing to the leather couch. He sat in the armchair opposite us, his expression grave. I'm aware of the posts on the confessions page. Tell me exactly what happened, Mei. Ling lifted her head, her eyes red-rimmed. In a trembling voice, she gave a brief, heavily edited version of the events. When she finished, she looked at me, waiting. My stomach twisted into a knot. I scratched the back of my neck. If I told them I had a superpower, my life would spin out of control. All I wanted was to be a normal person, so I said nothing. But Dean's brow furrowed. He tapped his fingers on his desk. Each tap a miniature explosion in the silent room. This is an extremely serious matter. The dorm supervisor is facing termination, and according to university policy, Ensling could be facing expulsion. Ling flinched, the color draining from her face. She looked at the dean, her eyes wide with panic. And then, there's the incident in the dining hall. The dean continued. 1 minute time walking across campus. The next, I'm in the middle of the cafeteria. I'm pulling security footage. Something that bizarre needs to be investigated. Kenja. Please, Mei Ling whispered, tears streaming down her face. You have to say something. I don't want to get kicked out of school. I'm begging you. As much as I wanted to keep my secret, I couldn't let other people take the fall for me. And he was right. The security tapes would expose the impossibility of it all anyway. I took a deep breath. I only found out yesterday that I have this ability. It was me. I summoned you both. A man like Dean Sato, who had seen everything, was clearly not buying it. He stood up, paced his office a few times, and pinned me with a hard stare. All right, show me. If I had to do a demonstration, I needed to summon someone who would definitely be on campus and someone with enough authority to get the dean to back off. Perfect. I closed my eyes and focused, complaining internally. The university president never gets involved in these things. What a joke. Nothing. Seeing my bewildered expression, Mei Ling looked even more hopeless, and the dean's stare intensified. Did I have to say it out loud? Okay, let's try again. President Kim should really step in and manage his dean. She is so irresponsible. The air warped. A second later, President Kim materialized in the office, one hand clutching his stomach, the other holding a roll of toilet paper. He was clearly on his way to the bathroom. He blinked, nodded a quick hello to the dean, and walked out. That wasn't right. I needed him to stay so irresponsible. I said quickly. Doesn't he even ask what's going on? President Kim reappeared, his pants halfway down his legs. Mei Ling whipped her head around, pretending to study a painting on the wall. The president's face was a mask of agony. I'm in the middle of something very urgent, he pleaded. Whatever it is, can it wait? He hitched up his pants and practically ran out of the room. Hey, he was supposed to back me up. Couldn't he at least ask one question before leaving? Just as the dean was about to speak, the president appeared a third time. This time, a vein was throbbing in his forehead and his face was betrayed. He was at his absolute limit. He took a shaky breath. Please, he begged, I'm begging you. Let me go. He backed out of the room, looking over his shoulder every few steps, terrified we'd summon him back again. Dean Sato slowly sat down next to me on the couch, the shock playing on his weathered face. He stroked his chin for a long moment. It was an accident, he said finally, and Mei Ling was a victim. I'll just say, I never knew. But what are you going to do now? I just want to be a normal person, I said. Live a normal life. A flicker of disappointment crossed his eyes. Besides, I don't agree with it, but I respect your choice. I'll collect the security footage from the last 2 days. This stays between us. He patted my shoulder. If you change your mind, my door is always open. It was a dismissal. The school did its best to bury the incident, but the whispers didn't stop. People were talking about us constantly. Then, the things they said about Mei Ling were especially vicious. I felt a surge of helpless anger. All I could do was hope people would eventually forget Mei Ling. On the other hand, handled it surprisingly well. In fact, she seemed to have developed a fascination with me. She started smiling whenever she saw me. Then she started saving me a seat at the dining hall. Soon, she was asking me to go for walks or study with her at the library. Slowly, public opinion started to shift. The harsh judgment faded, replaced by people shipping us. The best way to fight the rumors, she said one evening as we watched the sunset, is to lean into them. She said it casually. At the fading light caught the blush on her cheeks. I blinked. It was a crazy idea, but it also kind of made sense. After a moment, I nodded. And just like that, we were officially, in everyone else's eyes at least, a couple. As I got to know her, I saw a different side of Mei Ling. She could be jumpy and dramatic. She'd shriek if a big dog ran toward her. But she was also incredibly warm. She decoo at puppies and sneak them treats. She seemed cold on the surface. But once she let you in, she'd give you the world. She started buying me little things, quirky, inexpensive gifts that made me feel surprisingly warm inside. So for our fake 3-month anniversary, I decided to plan a surprise after dinner. As we were walking back, I glanced around. The path was empty. Close your eyes, I said, my voice full of mystery. Her excitement was palpable. She squeezed her eyes shut and playfully covered her face with her hands, determined not to peek. I took a deep breath and concentrated, grumbling under my breath about Mei Ling's favorite pop star. Nia Petrova doesn't give a damn about her fans. She's a terrible role model. The air rippled. A figure appeared before us. Long dark hair covered most of her face, revealing only a pair of terrified eyes. She was wearing a tattered white dress spattered with what looked like blood. It was horrifying. Mei Ling slowly opened her eyes. The anticipation on her face curdled into pure fear. Her face went white. Her lips trembled. And then she let out a blood-curdled scream. Nia, a famous actress and singer, was clearly just as startled by the sudden change of scenery and the screaming girls. He let out a terrified shriek of her own. The two screams tangled together, making my scalp crawl. Before I could explain, Mei Ling surged forward, fueled by terror and rage. Just like the first time in my dorm, she slapped Nia Petrova square across the face. A ghost. Mei Ling shrieked. Nia, stunned, didn't say a word. She just turned and ran, stumbling blindly, nearly crashing into a tree. My brilliant surprise had turned into a horror show. My brain, a few beats behind, finally caught up, and I rushed to comfort the hysterical Mei Ling. Just as she was starting to calm down, we heard footsteps pounding toward us again. We both jumped and spun around. It was Nia, even more disheveled, panting for breath. The second Mei Ling saw her, she screamed again and slapped Nia's other cheek. I sucked in a breath, looking at Mei Ling in disbelief, terrified the next slap was coming for me. Then Nia Petrova completely broke down. Clutching her now swollen cheeks, she ran off sobbing. How do I get out of here? When Mei Ling finally understood that the ghost was her idol, she was consumed by regret. I missed my chance for a selfie. She was dressed like a horror movie victim and you slapped her twice. I thought the fact she didn't have you arrested is a miracle, but saying that out loud felt cruel, so I just patted her shoulder. There DB other chances. After that, Mei Ling was hooked. She got in a taste for it, and experimenting with my power became our go-to date night activity. We tried summoning money. It didn't work. Next, we moved on to objects. One day in the dining hall, on a whim, I grumbled about the lack of decent seafood, and two enormous steaming lobsters appeared on our table. A few students even asked us where we bought them when winter came. Mei Ling suddenly said she wanted to see cherry blossoms. I tried. All I managed to summon was a bare cherry tree. Its branches stark and empty. The next morning, the entire campus was staring at the tree that had magically appeared in the middle of the quad. I got another lecture from Dean Sato for that one. Through trial and error, we started to figure out the rules. I could only summon living things. I don't know what was going through Mei Ling's head, but after we reached this conclusion, she asked, "Could you summon my grandma?" I looked at her, confused. Isn't your grandma like in Florida? How would she get back? She passed away a few years ago, Mei Ling said softly. I was just wondering if it worked on things that used to be alive. I tried it. Thank God for that, because that would have been an actual ghost. And if Mei Ling got emotional and slapped her grandma, I wasn't sure the old woman's spirit could take it lately. Mei Ling had been withdrawn and anxious after I pressed her a few times. She finally told me to meet with Volkov. The captain of the basketball team was relentlessly hitting on her. It all started the day she fled my dorm room. Dmitri had seen her, and according to Mei Ling, it was love at first sight. He'd made the anonymous post on the confessions page to find out who she was and what she'd been doing. He assumed I'd done something to hurt her, which led to the confrontation in the dining hall after getting chewed out by the dean. He backed off me, but he hadn't given up on Mei Ling. Seeing us together all the time only made him more aggressive. Mei Ling turned him down repeatedly. She told him she wasn't interested, that she had a boyfriend. She tried every excuse in the book. Dmitri refused to believe her, declaring that as long as she wasn't married, he had a chance. He also made a point of trashing me every chance he got. What is so great about Kenji? He told her, has a nobody, no money, no ambition. He's a total coward. You rated good for him. He was a classic Mithya. The more he said stuff like that, the more Mei Ling despised him. But he'd started waiting for her outside her dorm, and it was making her miserable, as Mei Ling's vacant, increasingly real boyfriend. I couldn't let that stand. I went to find him. I hear you've been running your mouth about me to Mei Ling, I said. How about a wager? Dmitri looked stunned that I'd approached him, then a condescending smirk spread across his face. You want to make a bet? Fine. I'll decide the terms. 5-on-5 basketball. My team versus yours. The loser has to apologize to the winner and call him Daddy in front of everyone, and then stay away from Mei Ling forever. You in? Deal? He seemed surprised by my immediate acceptance, but it quickly melted into a cold sneer as he slammed his door shut. Dmitri went all out. He assembled the best players from our school's team and even called in favors to get a star forward from a rival university to join them. He hyped the game everywhere, on campus radio, on social media, turning it into a major event. On game day, the gym was packed. The noise was deafening as I stood near the entrance. I could hear the buzz. Dmitri S lineup is stacked. That guy he brought in is a top 3 forward in the collegiate league. Dude, their opponents are gonna get annihilated. I bet they don't even show their ass. No way Dmitri loses this. I bet they win by 30 at least. Mei Ling pushed through the crowd to find me, her face etched with worry. Even if you lose, she said, her voice a fierce command, you are not allowed to leave me. I smiled and ruffled her hair. Just wait for me. The game was about to start when I finally walked onto the court. Behind me were 4 teammates dressed in loose hoodies, the hoods pulled low to hide their faces. The crowd started murmuring again. Who are these guys trying to be mysterious, scared of showing their faces when they lose? Wait, look at how they are. They're way bigger than Dmitri's team. Maybe this won't be a blowout after all. When my 4 teammates reached center court and pulled back their hoods in unison, the entire gym erupted. The confident smiles on the faces of Dmitri and his teammates froze, replaced by looks of pure, unadulterated shock. Oh my God, is that Akeem Olajuwon? Steph Curry eyes? Is that truly Luka Doncic? Oh, Shaq! That's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's the whole all-star team. How are they supposed to play against that? Kevin Garnett? Holy, am I dreaming? Is this real life? Dimitri's team looked like they'd seen a ghost. Their morale had completely evaporated. The game started after a few impossible three-pointers from Luka Doncic into backboard-shattering dunk from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Their team fell apart. Their plays were a mess. Passes went wild at halftime. Dimitri was screaming at his teammates, but it was useless against absolute legends. Their defense was tissue paper. The final buzzer sounded over the roar of the crowd. We had won, 101-49. It wasn't even close. Dimitri was slumped on the court, his eyes vacant. I walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. Let us just call it even. Stay away from Mei Ling. The next morning, Dean Sato summoned me and Mei Ling to his office. On the way, Mei Ling, despite being a nervous wreck herself, kept trying to reassure me the door to the dean's office was open. He was pacing, hands clasped behind his back. He gestured for us to sit, then resumed his pacing. Just as I was starting to get dizzy, he finally spoke. Your secret might not be a secret for much longer. Mei Ling and I exchanged a confused look. Someone got curious about your basketball team. The team did some digging. They realized that your teammates seemed to appear and disappear from thin air. No one could explain it. Connecting that to the other strange incidents around campus lately. Some people are starting to theorize that you have the ability to summon things. My heart sank. It was getting out. And the dean added with a heavy sigh, I just got a call. Nia Petrova is coming to campus. She specifically asked to meet with both of you. The president couldn't say no. I'm telling you this so you can be prepared, as if on cue. The door opened, and President Kim walked in. Nia Petrova into W this time. Nia was impeccably dressed, the swelling on her face completely gone. Her eyes, however, are still icy. Mei Ling is way prettier. I thought the president looked furious. He launched into a tirade before he was even fully in the room. As university students, how could you resort to violence? Do you have any idea what would happen if Ms. Petrova's fans found out? You'd be docked into oblivion. Apologize to her this instant and make it sincere. He was yelling at us. Thought it was a clear message to NEA. Don't you dare unleash your fan base on my students. Mei Ling and I shot each other a look and scrambled to our feet. We are so don't apologize. NEA cut in, stepping in front of the president. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to ask for their help. The president's demeanor flipped instantly. Of course, our students are pillars of the community, always happy to help. Whatever you need, just ask. And the dean then tactfully retreated to the corner, giving us space. NEA bit her lip. I want you to help me find my birth parents. She explained that she'd been adopted as a child and sold to a wealthy family. Her adoptive parents were kind, but she'd always wondered about her biological family and had spent a fortune trying to find them with no luck. After being summoned by me, she realized my ability might be her last hope. Seeing the desperation in her eyes, I couldn't say no. We called the local police department to have a couple of officers come and witness the event. With everyone watching, I focused and used my power. A middle-aged woman appeared in the office. She looked exhausted, her eyes filled with a deep, weary sadness. NEA took a tentative step forward, her own eyes welling up. Mom, she whispered, using her birth name. It's me. NEA tears streamed down the woman's face. NEA, she choked out, her voice a mix of disbelief and overwhelming joy. Is it really you? She fumbled with her worn purse, pulling out a faded, yellowed missing child flyers. He held the picture of the little girl up to NEA's face. Comparing the past to the present, NEA broke the two of them, collapsed into each other's arms, sobbing. The rest of us quietly backed out of the office. One of the police officers, a woman named Detective Lee, fell in a step beside me. Your ability could be incredibly useful for solving cases, she said softly. We'd like you to consider joining the force. I hesitated and shook my head. Thank you, but I just want to live a normal life. The disappointment in her eyes was clear. But she didn't push. Slumped in my desk chair, I kept glancing at my phone, a strange sense of unease creeping over me. Mei Ling always texted me around this time, sharing some funny story from her day, but tonight, my phone was silent. At first, I told myself she was just in the shower. I fired up a video game to kill time. An hour later, still nothing. I found and scrolled through her chat history. Her last message from hours ago was, grabbing dinner with my roommate. This wasn't like her. We hadn't fought. She had no reason to be ignoring me. A cold dread washed over me. Something was wrong. I called her. It rang and rang, then went to a voicemail. I called again and again. Finally, someone picked up. It was Dmitry Volkov. Mei Ling's in the shower, he said, his voice slick and triumphant. Anything you want to say, you can say to me. Then he hung up. Impossible. Mei Ling wouldn't do that. I was pulling on my jacket, dialing her number again. This time, it went straight to the number you have dialed is unavailable. Message, no more waiting. I found an empty corner of the hallway and summoned the two detectives I'd met that morning. They appeared looking tired. We're just off their shift. We rape police officers, Detective Lee said, frowning. You can't just summon us whenever you feel like it. I didn't have time to explain right in front of them. I focused all my energy. Dmitry Volkov and Mei Ling better have a good explanation for this. With a flash of light, they both appeared. Mei Ling was unconscious on the floor, her eyes closed and her face pale, but her clothes were intact. Dmitry, his face a mask of crazed fury, saw the detectives and tried to make a run for it. He didn't even get 1 foot out the door before they tackled him. What are you doing? I didn't do anything, he yelled. I fought back a wave of rage and knelt, pressing my thumb into the pressure point below Mei Ling's nose. A moment later, her eyes fluttered open. She saw me and burst into tears, burying her face in my chest. When she could finally speak, the story came out. She'd been at dinner with her roommate. When Dmitry and her roommate's boyfriend showed up, she sent me a text, but the signal in the restaurant was bad and it never went through. Dmitry offered her a drink. She'd only had 1 sip before everything went black. Dmitry was still struggling on, shouting that the detectives were having it. One of them hauled him away, while the other went to pull security footage from the restaurant. Lee, showing a surprising amount of compassion, told Mei Ling she could come in to give her official statement tomorrow. After they left, I was worried Mei Ling would be traumatized. I walked with her for a while, summoning a few bunnies and a playful golden retriever puppy to distract her. It worked. By the time I got back to her dorm, she was smiling again. She hesitated at the entrance, looking like she wanted to say something. Is she trying to prove her innocence? No, that's dumb guy thinking. What does she want? Whatever. A girl's mind is a mystery. I'd wait for her to tell me. The residence hall doors were about to lock for the night. As I turned to leave, Mei Ling stood on her tiptoes, gave me a quick, shy kiss on the cheek, and then ran inside. By the time I processed what had happened, she was gone. That wasn't a problem for me. How dare Mei Ling kiss me and run? I grumbled with a grin. So rude. A second later, the kissed runner reappeared right in front of me. Kenji, she yelped, stomping her foot. You're not allowed to summon me anymore. She covered her blushing face with her hands and ran back inside, leaving me standing there, grinning like an idiot. The night of the Founders Gala arrived in the end. We went with the song Mei Ling had chosen. Backstage, my phone buzzed. It was a video call from Annie Petrova. She looked furious. Why haven't you been trash-talking me? She demanded. I was baffled. Who asked for that? But hey, if the lady insists. I took a deep breath and let her have it. Your last reality show was a masterclass in manufacturing drama just for the chase of ratings, turning a good concept into toxic garbage. That's strike one. The products you endorse are constantly having quality control issues, screwing over your own fans. Yet, you keep renewing the contracts. Strike two. You're notorious for being a diva at events, and there are receipts all over the internet. You never learned. Strike three. NEA kept trying to interrupt, but I was on a roll finally. The other end of the line went quiet. Are you still there? I asked her, a little worried. If you say one more mean thing, I'm going to cry, she said, her voice thick with tears. No one has ever dared to talk to me. Like that. First you want me to yell at her, now she doesn't. Being a man is complicated. Before I could recover, she added, I heard my rival is performing at your school's gala tonight. Why didn't you invite me? That was the events committee. We had nothing to do with it. I don't care, she declared. I have to be there. I have to upstage her well. This is going to be interesting. I hung up just as Detectives Lee and her partner found me backstage. Their purpose was grim and to the point. A notorious mob boss wanted for the murder of a family of 5 over a business dispute had escaped to the mountains, where there were no cameras. They couldn't find him. Mei Ling, coming to find me for a performance, overheard the whole things. He saw me hesitate, and gently took my hand. All she said was, they helped me. That was all I needed. We found an empty dressing room. I summoned the gangster. He appeared, a brutish man with a cruel face. The second he saw the cops, he kicked one of them in the shin and bolted. The hallways were swarming with uniformed officers. but it still took a massive effort to tackle him. As they dragged him away in cuffs, his eyes scanned the area and landed on me, his face twisted into a mask of pure rage. It was you. You brought me here. I'll have my guys kill your whole family. Before he could say another word, an officer threw a hood over his head, silencing him. By the time I dealt with all that, I realized I'd missed my cue. Mei Ling's performance was almost over. On stage, Annie A. Petrova had taken my place, singing a surprise duet with her rival. Watching them, I felt a pang of disappointment, but then a new idea sparked. If I couldn't be the performer, I could be the fan. Instantly, an absurdly large bouquet of red roses appeared in one of my hands, and two smaller, elegant bouquets of pink lilies appeared in the other. I strode toward the stage, handing a bouquet to Annie I and her rival and saving a massive one for Mei Ling. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. She took the roses and gave me a quick, tight hug, her face beaming when other stagehands brought her more flowers from fans. She accepted then with a polite but distant thank you. After the show, Mei Ling and I went for a walk, eventually finding ourselves under the cherry tree I had summoned weeks ago. She suddenly stopped, a blush rising on her cheeks. She looked at me, her gaze both shy and incredibly determined. She handed me the roses, and then she slowly took off her jacket. Underneath, she was wearing a simple, elegant white wedding dress that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. She looked down, unable to meet my eyes as she spoke. "I love you, Kenji Tanaka," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I've loved you for a long time, but I was too scared to say, will you be my boyfriend?" Before I could answer, a voice came from the shadows. "Sorry to interrupt." We both jumped. It was Detective Lee and her partner. "We need to warn you," we said, getting straight to the point. "The man we arrested tonight is extremely vengeful. In 2018, he put 5 men in the hospital over a minor argument while he was in prison. All 5 of them died in accidents. We were worried about your safety and we're hoping you'll reconsider our offer. Help us put people like him away for good." Was I getting the full hero recruitment speech now? I looked at Mei Ling, then back at the detectives. I wrestled with the decision for a moment. "I have one condition," I said. "I get to graduate like a normal student." The detectives exchanged a look. "Only the president of the university can approve that." "That's the easy part," I said with a sly grin. The air-warped President Kim appeared in his pajamas, toilet paper in hand. The moment he saw me again, he exploded. "Let me go to the bathroom first." This time I looked at Mei Ling, who was shivering in the cold night air in her thin dress. I felt a pang of sympathy but also opportunity. He summoned the president back. He stomped his foot in pure frustration, throwing the roll of toilet paper at my chest. I agree. "Okay, is that what you want?" "I want to graduate," he said quietly. He clutched his stomach. "Not even looking at me." "Fine," he yelled, then sprinted away. I summoned him back one last time, holding out the toilet paper with a helpful smile. "You forgot this, sir." He shot me a look that could kill, snatched the roll, and vanished. Even the professionally trained detectives couldn't help but chuckle. Mei Ling, however, looked worried. "Are you sure?" she asked thoughtfully. "Is this what you want?" They knew what she was really asking. She was afraid that if I became a secret agent, there would be no room for us. I gently booped her on the nose. "I'm 21, I said with a smile. "Oh, what does that mean?" "It means I'm an adult," I said, pulling her close. "And adults get to have it all." Her body tensed for a second, then relaxed into mine. She knew what was coming next. Her eyelashes fluttered and she slowly closed her eyes, a soft blush spreading across her cheeks. I leaned in and our trembling lips finally found their home. The 2 detectives had the decency to turn their backs as we kissed the bare branches of the cherry tree. Suddenly came alive. Thousands of fireflies blinked into existence, swirling around us, weaving a canopy of dreamlike light that enveloped the 2 of us who had no intention of separating anytime soon.